Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys from Canada. We know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south, in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, on a beautiful April 23rd, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I'm feeling kind of confused geographically here today. You know, I mean, it's raining, the sun is shining, it's 70 degrees. I thought I was in Hawaii until I saw all the trees around.
Yeah, I tell you what, Big C, sometime, I don't know how you good old boys get down, but some people told me that the world is flat and they still believe it. So whether you're in Hawaii or whether you're down south, it's all good. Just don't fall off the edge of the earth, Big C. That make any sense?
Well, Charlton, I thought I'd had too much moonshine and had fallen over someplace when I saw the climate here today. But everything is lovely. You know, we got sunshine. It's wonderful when you can take a shower and tan at the same time.
At the same time, I tell you, those Jesus showers are just baths, Big. So we always love that. So much happening in the world of the sports. We were talking about who are the Lions and who are the Lions that will show up and spread their wings and show who has the biggest fangs. Big C, we saw some of that in the NBA as teams are starting to make a separation. Baseball still kind of getting us warmed up to that. NHL hockey's going on strong. But Big C, before we even get into that, would you believe that there's a good old boy, a kid? You know how we say the kids can teach the adults how to do things? And in the future, we're going to deal with this thing called artificial intelligence. Now, we're big on saying Google it. So we're gonna tell everybody in the universe to Google everything. There's a kid at MIT, which is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Would you believe that they've used artificial intelligence? I guess you can speak to it or plant it into your brain or whatever they do, and you can think of what you're gonna ask as opposed to saying it, and the computer can tell you the numbers. Big C, is that scary or is that fun for you good old boys down south?
But Charlton, I've been doing that for a long time. It's called my kids. I pass them my phone and tell them what I need done to it, and it happens. So to me, that's always been artificial intelligence. I kind of think I'm the smartest guy in the house until I need something done electronically.
I understand. So what do we do? You know how sometimes people say the kids don't listen, and so I remember when I was a little kid growing up, and we had what's called the 8-track tape. You put it in your cassette deck in the car. And then from there, I think we went into the cassette deck. From there, they went into the CD, and now they have the MP3, and now everything is going streaming. And I've known of artificial intelligence. There's a gentleman by the name of Robert Thibault. He had a book called Automatism, and how robots will replace computers, and it's starting to do that. It will do that on everything except the Big C Sports Show. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think Will Smith did a movie something similar to that, Charlton, called iRobot.
Yeah, iRobot, yeah.
And when you think about some of the movies that Will Smith has been involved in over time, I think about Enemy of the State with Gene Hackman.
Amazing.
When they talked about the NSA, how they bug everybody and have everyone's information.
Yep.
Then you talk about artificial intelligence, which is what iRobot, was run by. So there's so much that's profound in the movie industry that, it has come to fruition. I was having a talk with a friend the other day, and we were talking about the things that we saw when we were growing up.
Yeah.
It's like Dick Tracy was one of the biggest comic books around when I was a kid. Dick Tracy had a wristwatch phone.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, we saw that with Apple and Google with the wristwatch phone.
Sure did.
Just like Dick Tracy, that he had this in the 40s and 50s. We were talking about the Jetsons, how they have the hover cars that went from place to place, which has been an experimental car over the years.
Yep.
And then we also talked about Star Trek, which was the first interracial show, multicultural show on television, where you were represented by several cultures of people.
Yes.
Not only that, they had this little thing called a telecommunicator.
Yes.
Which is known as the flip phone.
Yeah, the tricorder,
You know,
yeah.
they flip it open, and they can talk to people.
Yeah.
And so you think about artificial intelligence. It's amazing what goes on in society that we don't know about. People think because we use it all the time now, the cell phone,
Right.
okay? They think it's part of everyday life. Go back to World War II. How do you think the GIs communicated with each other? They had this thing, you had to crank it,
Yep.
which was the first cell phone that came out in public. It came out in a battery pack.
Yes.
But the military's had this technologies in the 40s and 50s. Everything that we're getting today is what the military no longer has classified. So when
yeah.
we think that we've moved forth in technology, Charlton, U.S. has always had it.
It's always amazing when you open your mind to the mind of technology. And like we tell all these young athletes all over the world, in fact, all over the universe, pay attention to technology. Don't worry about trying to make $1 million as an athlete. That job is closed for about 99.9% of the people out there. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You can drive a car or you can drive a Cadillac. Big C, I still got to ask you, with spring out here in California, a lot of people walk around with hardly any clothes on, and I thought I might walk around with my shirt off.
Hold on, wait a minute. I might have to get a ticket to fly out there. I feel at home doing that.
I tell you, man, California is something else. I know down there in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, walking around, what do they call it? The tank tops, is that a fashion statement? Or do they just not have enough, thread material to make the whole undershirt?
Southern women have a tendency to be a little more healthy.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the term tank top came from, because, they're very well enamored. And so, when you can't get enough material to cover the midriff, I think that's why they call it a tank top.
Yeah, they call it tank top. Well, we're big on technology. Big on everything that's happening in the sports universe. I do want to tell for all you advertisers out there, Big C Sports has started a new thing, and we've joined the new frontier, Big C, just like Star Trek. Big C Sports will be launching live Big C Sports TV in the summer of 2018. For you good old boys that can't get enough of Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, you can also follow us on TV and radio coming in 2018, in the summer of 2018. It's been a long journey, but there's a lot of people that are coming together to make that happen. Big C, as we talk about that, I want to say, because we talked about the lion, you got to know when you're being haunted, and you got to know how to clear the fog. If you clear the fog, you can create your own alchemy. I know going back in the day when I was in college, and I thought about how to get a job in television. And the old way to get a job in television, kind of like the 8-track player, you get your internship. And with the internship, you go down to a radio station or a TV station. And ironically, the station that I went to in college, it had Rush Limbaugh. He was on an AM radio station in Northern California. He wasn't as racist as he is now. He was more of a small market, kind of egalitarian person. But he found something that works in mainstream when he had that racist slant to what he really does. But would you believe that the people that they call ditto heads, they probably never seen Rush Limbaugh in person? They heard him on the radio. And then when he went to TV, because they put a face with it, he became a multi-millionaire. And I just want to get your thoughts. You've been TV and radio. Talk about the advantages of a young person now. Instead of thinking of making your millions as an athlete, how can they get into media and use the technology the same way Will Smith did in iRobot? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the younger generation now, we had the millennials, and millennials are really a sedentary group of people. They're caught between the two generations. But when we look at this modern generation of technos,
yes,
and that's what they are. They're tech savvy. They're born into it. There's nothing they can't accomplish. And so when you look at how everything is going, they're eliminating a lot of the things that millennials created.
Yeah.
When you talk about television is going to streaming.
It sure is.
And so, these technos don't have time to sit at home in a recliner like I do and watch television.
Well, hold
They're
on.
on the move.
Hold on. You got a recliner too, Big C? I thought you did everything from the Escalade in that boat you get out there on the water, Big C. Was that not true?
Well, you ever been in the Escalade seat, Charlton?
Yes, it is.
It will lay down and recline for you.
Okay.
You sit in the back seat and those leg pegs come up.
Yes.
And you're feeling real good.
Okay, I understand now.
When you look at this young generation, Charlton, I think they have left so much of mainstream behind.
Yes.
In everything that they do. I mean, they're far ahead of anything you could ever think about. If you look over the next 5 to 10 years in the world, not just in the United States, and look at all the advancements that keep occurring, Charlton.
Yes.
These kids come up with stuff daily, not monthly. They come up with things daily. You talked about the artificial intelligence, being made public.
Yes.
There's so much that can be grasped. I mean, it's great that athletes, still participate. But when you look at how you talk about that you can go and make that money in other ways and save your body, so many of these young people are doing that when we look at the advancement. It's going to be in science. It's going to be in medicine, Charlton. It's going to be in so many different things. When we think about the atmosphere, how they're going to change that. Just technology as it grows. And when we think about a computer, that's artificial intelligence.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it is.
It does whatever you want to do. I mean, I learned from you to talk to my phone, and it talks back.
Hey, well, so, Big Z, I
don't need nobody around now.
I gotta break some news to you. The reason I talk to my phone because I have no friends. So that's why. Back in the day, they always said, "Why do old people talk to themselves?" Like, they go around talking to themselves. They didn't have a cell phone like we do. We're so lucky. Before we start the BigCDate.com, where if you don't have to be lonely anymore, you can order a date right from your phone on BigCDate.com, the same way as Captain Kirk ordered Beam Me Up Scotty on the Enterprise. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, it does, Charlton. I'm learning how to speak other languages, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. They got this thing called... Rosetta Stone that they want you to order.
Yes.
They didn't tell you. All you had to do was, go to the language button on your phone, and it was right there.
Yeah.
So if I want to talk to somebody in French, I want to talk to somebody in German, Spanish, Lithuanian, Russian. I mean, it's there.
No, you ain't got to worry about Russian.
Talk to somebody in Canadian. He speaks Canadian.
Yeah. And Big C, you don't have to worry about talking to anyone in Russia. They already got your phone tapped, so they know what you're saying.
My bad.
They figured it out well before we did. But I mean, even for the people in media, and I've sold television, I've been in television and radio, and you think about what it costs for a Super Bowl ad, where you could spend $1 million for a 30 or 60-second spot for a Super Bowl.
$3.2 million for a 30-second ad.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a lot more than what I even thought. So imagine if you're a corporation and you're trying to reach millions of people, if they don't watch that Super Bowl game and watch that commercial at the time that you spent that $3 million on your Super Bowl ad to capture however many millions of people, then you just lost that money. And you're told, well, they're going to come back and watch it again. Most people fast forward through commercials. That's a kind of a hint out there, Big C. But the benefit of streaming is before it's called a pre-roll. They got to listen to the commercial before they even get to the pre-roll. They do it a lot on a lot of social media. So even if you wanted to reach a worldwide audience and you want to advertise on the #1 sports show in the universe, and you order through Big C Sports, $1 million ad, you can reach millions of people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to wait at a certain time to watch it. They can pull up the show when they want to. And if you're a corporate sponsor, Big C, why is it so important for a corporation looking to spend $1 million on advertising, not only with the #1 sports show in the universe, but they can be on a show that when the client wants to work out in the gym, or they're riding around in their Escalade or in their Hummer or whatever they're in, they can pull up the show and that adds with them 24 hours a day. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's what we talk about in the techno society, is that you want to reach those people who are active, and you want to have a target audience, and everyone, certain advertising is not built for. But when you have that target core audience, I mean, you think about us. We have that sports political mind person that listens to us.
Yep.
And you're talking in that generation of 25 to 60 years of age.
Yep.
That are our hardcore audience.
That read.
Because they understand what we're saying.
And they read.
They do read. They pay attention.
Yes.
And they know that the information that we give them is pertinent.
Google.
Whether it's in sports, whether it's in politics, everyday life.
Yes.
Because they're so intelligent, they've learned how to Google.
I call it talking to myself, Big C. so I think, again, for the advertisers, and we're reaching to all the advertisers that I've talked to over the years, you can kill your business in 3 simple steps. Now get a pen, I'm going to tell you. If you're a business and you want to kill your business, I'm going to tell you how to do it. Don't advertise. Don't advertise. Don't advertise. And pretty soon your business will come to an end. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, so many people, Charlton, say that they can't afford to advertise. Everyone in business advertises. I mean, everyone with a storefront advertises, Charlton. Because what do they have is their name on the front of the storefront.
Yep.
That is the first and foremost part of advertising that they do. Not only that, they have a menu inside generally.
Yep.
With their, if it's a restaurant, what they're selling, what's on the menu, their name is on there also, Charlton. And even when you look at apparel and sporting goods stores, Charlton, their name is there.
Yes.
They go inside. It's all over the store, bannered up. So, and you constantly tell people about what you do. So you're advertising. But you also have to look at the media aspect of it, Charlton. Do you want to reach the masses of people that can benefit you financially? This old analogy, you can go down and everyone advertises, print 500 business cards for $9.99. Okay?
Black and white.
500 people potentially that you can reach.
Yes.
Okay, how long does it take you to pass out 500 business cards? And yet, if you listen to radio, which is the largest form of information in the United States and probably the world,
yes,
97% of all Americans listen to radio in some form. And so if you have a following of 1 million people on your radio station, those 500 business cards can't reach any percentage of your listenership.
They can't.
So if you take that 500 business cards and you times it by the number it takes to reach that million versus that 500, that's a reasonable investment. Because if you get 500 people that patronize your business out of that million, you have a very successful advertising campaign.
You sure will. And it all comes down to just doing it. And that's what I love about Big C Sports. And as I tell other advertisers, and I've talked to many corporate sponsors over the past, and I just ask them, when you watch your main programs today, Big C, what you're going to see a male host or a female host, mostly Caucasian, and they're going to give you their corporate spin. You know, they're paying you they say, tell the people what we're paying you to tell them. So they all are going to read with a teleprompter. Big C Sports is the only sports show in the universe that does not use teleprompters, and we're not going to use them because we want to have real talk. Just like I did on BigCDate.com, Big C, when we tell people who are looking for love, how would you feel if the person showed up to pick you up for your date, showed up with a teleprompter, and Big C, they're reading everything, they're reading everything that they're saying to you about how they love your eyes, they love your hair color, and they hold on, my teleprompter dropped. Let me get it back up. Big C, would that make any sense? I tell you, you gotta have people who can tell you.
That scenario
Go ahead, Z.
occurred. Is that okay? Hold, wait a minute. This is not the way that this is supposed to run. Let me run this back and start this all over again. That there's so lack of genuine people in society, Charlton,
Yes.
that you just want somebody to be real, like we do on our show on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I mean, when you can watch a show on television, a sports show, and you can watch it 1 hour.
Yep.
An hour later, that same show is looping.
Yeah.
Because they lack originality. I think with all of what they invest in their formats and the people that they have on there, it's a guessing game, and they lack the ability to tell you about what's going on.
It's not real.
It's nice to be able to read. I applaud them for reading.
Yeah.
I honestly do. Because they read. That shows a form of intelligence. But intelligence is not knowledge. and to be knowledgeable of what you're talking about, sometimes you have to go off the script.
You have to.
And you have to get in touch with the people that are listening to you.
Yeah.
So that they understand how that would be, how it comes to fruition. When you're sitting there and you're talking sports and it goes back and forth, whether you're sitting outside the garage with a tin can in your hand or you're sitting at some watering hole establishment.
What's in the tin can? What's in the tin can, Big Z?
You got the styrofoam around.
Okay.
Just in case there's kids around. So it's hard to tell what's in there.
I understand.
But when you're sitting there, and some of the greatest sports conversations of all time have occurred off the cuff.
Yes.
Where you have an opportunity to be opinionated.
Yep.
And I think what some of these shows don't offer now is opinionation.
Yeah.
Is that they sit there and say, okay, this is what's on the script, we're going to read this.
Yep.
I look at the draft coming up right now, Charlton, and that's coming up on Thursday.
Yes.
And you can go back and forth between any broadcast program that's on television, and they've all listened to each other and telling everybody the same story.
Same old story.
There's nothing different. It's like I've heard these top 4 quarterbacks for the last 4 months.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think about when was the last time a quarterback went to the Super Bowl that was drafted high. The last 2 were Cam Newton in Carolina.
Yeah.
And Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco. They were both first and second round draft picks.
Yep.
And so when you think about that, and Russell Wilson, I'll take it back. Russell Wilson was the 3rd round draft pick. But none of these guys that they're talking about will change the future of any of the teams that's drafting in the top 5. Not if they're taking number 1, Charlton. If I was running the draft, and I'm going to blow everybody out of the water, because Cleveland already has a quarterback. They made a trade for Tyrod Taylor, who could be a very comfortable fit for the next 2 seasons in Cleveland. They restructured his contract. He has a 3-year contract. But every great quarterback needs a running back. Saquon Barkley is the best player on the draft board, should be taken number 1.
Hands
Forget
down.
about this thing, franchise quarterback.
Hands down.
Cleveland also has the 4th pick in the draft. But if I have a running back that I can count on for the next 7 to 10 years, quarterbacks come and go. We've seen that in Cleveland. They drafted a half dozen in the first round and wasted draft picks.
Yeah.
But if they draft Saquon Barkley, a running back that all these draft experts devalue, now you gain credibility in the backfield of Cleveland. You look at what Tyrod Taylor did in Buffalo with this little known running back named Shady McCoy. Okay? Turned around the fortunes of Buffalo.
Sure did.
They were together for 2 years. All of a sudden, Buffalo was in the playoffs for the first time in over 12 years.
Yes.
Just adding that running back and quarterback to the backfield. Hello, Cleveland. Listen to what I'm saying. Take Saquon Barkley in the first round.
Yeah.
Let the chips fall after that. They say there's 4 quarterbacks that could go in the first round.
Yeah.
Okay? If Cleveland was smart, take Barkley at number 1. There's a kid named Mason Rudolph at Oklahoma State.
He's amazing.
And all you geniuses out there that have listened to all these draft experts, pull his name up.
Google
Look at his statistics over the last 2 years in college football. Nobody has outperformed him. Not even Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson at Louisville. Not even Heisman Trophy winner Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. If I'm Cleveland, I'm taking him number 4 in the draft. Reasons why, Charlton. It's windy on the plains out in Oklahoma, out in Stillwater.
Yes.
He can play in inclement weather. He has size at 6'4", 228 pounds. He played in a throwing offense. He threw for more yards last year than this kid Allen threw for in 2 years in Wyoming. Okay?
Yeah.
He threw for more yards last year than Allen threw for in 2 years in Wyoming.
Yes.
And he's a 3-year starter at Oklahoma State. He's ready. So if I'm Cleveland, and I know they're not going to hire me to run the draft, I'm taking Barkley, number 1. I'm taking Rudolph at number 4. I'm not going to worry about Baker Mayfield's attitude. I'm not going to worry about Sam Darnold who ranked 32nd. Think about this: 32nd in QBR rating last year
23
in the
turnovers.
NCAA. 32nd.
Yeah.
Okay, and Josh Allen, who has not played a complete season in the last 2 seasons. Matter of fact, he only passed for 1,700 yards last year in college football.
Yeah.
1,700 yards. And so you have no book on him. Josh Rosen, people said, well, they don't know if he wants to play, and, he has concussion issues. I heard the same thing about your buddy Jay Cutler.
Cutler, that's your friend? Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, take Barkley, the running back, number one. Don't tell me that running backs are devalued, okay? The guy who's talking about running backs are devalued are stupid.
Yes.
Okay? Because look at the teams who are successful in the NFL. Tell me, don't they have a running back? Look at what your buddy in Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott, has done.
Yes.
Look at Le'Veon Bell. Look at Leonard Fournette. Okay, so I think all 3 of those teams have something in common. Is that they're solid teams, and they've all been in the playoffs the last couple of years, led by those running backs when they're around.
It makes a big difference.
So it makes a huge difference, Charlton. And so if you're looking to be successful, you better get yourself a running back that's going to be around for close to the next decade.
Big C, when I think about that, I look at the Dallas Cowboys. Man, it's been a long time since the Cowboys have won a Super Bowl. And I think they beat Pittsburgh back down and when they played in Arizona, down there in Tempe. And I'll never forget when the 49ers and the Cowboys, they were the top 2 dogs. They were the 2 lions of the NFL. It was always whoever won the NFC Championship game. That was a team that was the favorite Super Bowl champion. Do you recall the time when the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, he wouldn't sign Emmitt Smith after leading the league in rushing, and they had Troy Aikman, their top quarterback, and they thought Aikman would be enough. They tried to hold out paying Emmitt Smith some money as the top running back in the NFL. Dallas started the season 0-2. It was after one of their Super Bowls. I remember Michael Irvin, a lot of other good old boys tearing up the locker room down in Texas, and they might have torn up a little bit of Jerry Jones too, because he maybe at least one of his suits. Okay, and then they signed Emmitt. Emmitt never played quarterback in college football, never played quarterback in the NFL. But when they signed Emmitt Smith, and then they gave him the ball, they went back to the Super Bowl, Big C. It showed the whole NFL universe that even though Troy Aikman's a Hall of Famer, so it's Emmitt. Without a Hall of Fame running back, it's hard to win a Super Bowl, Big C. Even if you look at Terry Bradshaw, the success he had with Franco Harris back in the day. It's always been a solid running game that will win. Even Denver's last Super Bowl, it wasn't Peyton Manning that won it. It was Anderson that ran the football in their defense. So when you make some salient points, we're propping all these quarterbacks up to say, pick these guys because they're the future, right? They all happen to be Caucasian, and we know that NFL loves to have frosting on their donuts. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, let's look at the last draft.
Yeah.
You got Denver picking at number 5.
Yes.
And people said Denver in hunt for a quarterback. Now, I'm not the smartest guy. Now, I think they drafted a quarterback last year, number 1, a kid named Paxton Lynch.
I remember. Where is he now?
Who at one point was crying on the sideline.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't understand what NFL defense meant.
But wasn't it
He never
Kuiper?
had to read in college.
Wasn't it Kuiper that said this guy is a can't miss
He's a
in
can't
McShay?
miss.
Kuiper,
Mel
you can
Kiper
Google
said
it.
he's a can't miss.
Google
And he
it.
was shocked that he went as low as he did to Denver in the draft.
Right.
But, Charlton, you look up and down the list at all these quarterbacks that are drafted every year. You talk about Donald coming out of SC. If you think about the last 4 quarterbacks coming out of USC that were drafted in the first round, okay?
Yeah.
None of them have ever made it to the Super Bowl. But the last 4, let's look at their success ratio. Kid named Tom Marinovich, you were talking about him last week.
I recall.
The being arrested.
Yep.
Carson Palmer's had the most successful career of all of them. He just retired. After that, there was a kid, I believe, named Matt Leinart.
Matt
Who
Leinart.
couldn't find an open receiver, in the NFL.
Yeah.
Then after that, it was Mark Sanchez, who was best known for the butt fumble, in his career.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at Sam Darnold.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes the history of players from a certain school tend you to believe that they may not be successful.
Yes.
You know, when you look at the New York Giants, who are second on the board, okay?
Yes.
The last time that the Giants have had the second overall draft pick in the NFL, okay?
Yes.
Defensive guy named Lawrence Taylor. The guy that resembles him the most is a kid named Tremaine Edwards out of Virginia Tech. Think about it. This kid is 19 years old. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, runs a 4.5 40.
Wow.
When you're talking about making an impact, let's go back to Khalil Mack a couple of years ago with the Raiders. Okay? The same type of athlete. That's what you get with Tremaine Edwards. If I'm the Giants, and my history has been when I've had a great defensive player, I've had a chance to win Super Bowls.
You sure did.
And you look at the Giants' history, you go back to when Bill Parcells was coach. They had Lawrence Taylor, they had Carl Banks, they had Martin at defensive end, you had Burt at those guys. It was a defense-led team. Harry Carson, you know, Reasons at linebacker. This team was led by defense.
Yeah.
Then you go back to more recent times. You look at the last two Super Bowls. You got Strahan, Ilmanura, you got JPP. You had great defensive linemen, Charlton, leading the charge for the Giants. Their quarterbacks get all the credit. But they had people that could shut people down, even when Parcells was coach. Great running backs.
Yes.
You had Megan and Anderson.
Yep.
You had Bradshaw and Jacobson behind Lenny. But they had dominant running games, Charlton.
Yes.
But their defense was at the forefront. And if the Giants don't go defense, what their history has meant to them, they're missing the boat.
Yeah, they have to get that right. Defense will win. Even when you look at the 49ers' success, even when you look at the Raiders' success, I look at what the Raiders did under Al Davis and when they went to the Super Bowl. Of course, they had Jim Plunkett, who was a great quarterback, but he wasn't their first pick. He came out of Boston, the Patriots, and then through a trade, played with the Raiders and had some great Super Bowls. But I'll never forget, especially the Super Bowl where they beat the Washington Redskins. And it's a shame that Jim Plunkett is not in the NFL Hall of Fame after having 2 Super Bowls, Big C. But they had Marcus Allen, who had a fabulous game. And Marcus Allen actually he played quarterback in high school, but at USC, he was a running back. In fact, he started at fullback, and he got the chance to play in the NFL as a running back and set records. He's a Hall of Famer. But when I look at those guys, all the quarterbacks that turned around and handed off the ball to him, whether it's Emmitt Smith or Marcus Allen or Franco Harris, those guys help their quarterbacks become Hall of Famers, because when you control the ball and you control the ground game, it helps your quarterback. I look at Dan Marino, could throw the ball like anybody else could ever hope to, but his running game wasn't as strong as some of the other teams that won. And that's important when you look at the coaches today and they're looking for that next college quarterback. And again, I've loved the USC program. I've followed it for years. And I go back to the days when they had Rodney Peete and they played number 1, number 2 Notre Dame down the Coliseum. And Tony Rice was a quarterback for Notre Dame, and Notre Dame beat him 27-10 at the Coliseum. And I look at both of those quarterbacks, and Rice, he got marginalized after winning the national championship for Notre Dame. And then, Pete had some success, but they didn't put the same kind of effort into him that they put around a lot of other players. So what you're saying, Big C, all people have to do is just Google some of those successful teams from the past. Even if you look at the Bears and the 85 defense, the 85 Bears, Walter Payton didn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but he was a main cog in that offense because McMahon wasn't going to set the world on fire. It was their defense that won, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he was one of the top rushers in the NFL during that season also. But, you speak about these quarterbacks, and you look up and down the ledger, and anybody, y'all got Google. Go back and look at the number of quarterbacks that have been drafted since 2010.
Yeah.
In the first round of the NFL. How many of those guys are starters? That's what you have to look at. How many of these quarterbacks are starters? Johnny Manziel, a first-round draft pick.
Yeah.
He's not even in the NFL. But year in and year out, Charlton, all of these guys are can't-miss projects.
It's marketing.
But think about it. Is it a hope that you have, or is it a guess that you have? You know, because when these quarterbacks don't pan out, we don't hear much about them.
No.
They just go by the wayside. It's not like they come back to where, hey, we were wrong. Or, you know, I mean, you speak about quarterbacks, John Elway.
Yes.
How many Super Bowls have John Elway been in? I believe 5 as a quarterback.
Yeah.
5. He won 2 Super Bowls, okay? He just happened to have this one magical running back when he won those 2 Super Bowls that Rush had a couple 2,000-yard seasons in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay? That man named Davis, Terrell Davis.
Yep.
Okay? Should have been a Super Bowl MVP, didn't get it because John Elway said he may not be back again.
Well, he only had two. To be fair, Big C, he only had 200 yards against Green Bay. Is that enough for a Hall of Fame and MVP with Big C?
I gotta question that, Chopper. You know,
he had 200 yards
on the ground. You know,
with a migraine.
It's not enough to be a Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
Yeah, we're being realistic about this stuff. Okay.
Yep.
But you know. But you had to give it to the quarterback because he's waited so long to get to this point. And without him, his team would not have won the game. They said they gave it to him based on one short yardage run, Charlton. Okay? That's what he got the MVP off of. But Terrell Davis, you know, goes out, turns up 200 yards on the ground. Go back and look at John Elway's Super Bowls that he lost. He didn't have a running back. In those 3 games, Charlton, they didn't gain 200 yards combined.
No, they were blown out.
3 Super Bowl losses. Okay?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was all on Elway's back because the team was behind. He was supposed to bring them back. He never did.
Yeah.
I mean, John had a very illustrious career.
He was a great player.
He did. But you know, and when it came down to the big game without Terrell Davis, he could not win. He had 3 opportunities prior to that, but he didn't have Terrell Davis.
And
we look at all these quarterbacks.
Yes.
I mean, look at Big Ben. You know, he's won a couple Super Bowls being with the Steelers. He had the bus when they were in Detroit.
Sure
rushing
did.
for over 100 yards.
Yeah.
He's had Le'Veon Bell, you know, rushing. These running backs, Charlton, have done admirable work. I mean, Russell Wilson in Seattle with beast mode, dominating.
Yeah.
You know, so these running backs that have been devalued by Todd Boucher, Mel Kiper, and Mike Mayotte.
All your friends.
Saying that, yeah. No, hey. The only thing we all have in common, Charlton,
Google,
is that they have hair.
Okay.
They have hair, and I don't.
Well, you save it to be you save it to get the advantage over. I guess that's when you call BigCDate.com.
Well, I'm gonna let the sun shine in. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let the sun shine.
Let the sun shine on in, man.
You know, and when the head is warm, Charlton, little knowledge arises.
It's like everybody says we all love. You know, they say the girls go crazy about a sharp dress, man. When I shave my hair, Big C, the only problem, I went from Jerry curl to shaving it off, Big C. Talk about a juxtapose. I went from Jerry curl. I messed up all my suits, Big C, with that classic curl stuff. That stuff was bad. And all the black guys that I knew bought that Jerry curl. I still got some stains I can't get out, Big C, but I'm not giving up some of those suits. But I went from that to shaving my head, and I couldn't get people from stop touching my head. I felt like everybody I met was like Donald Trump. They wanted to touch me, Big C. They tried to touch me, Big C. Your thoughts? That's a hard
thing. Well, you know, I'm hoping that people that look like Donald Trump weren't trying to touch you. Now, that makes me nervous, okay?
Yeah, that's true, Big C. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a college team, you're a high school team, mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you at 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, you know, we talk about the NBA and how you got to know when you're being preyed upon. And you got to know that everybody's praying like the lion's praying to eat food. You know, when the lion's hungry, it's more likely to go eat. And when you got a lion on your team, if you know you got a lion on your team, you're more likely to feed him. And what I saw with Minnesota and Houston, you know, they were dominated by Houston all throughout the playoffs. But them good old boys found a way to get a win. In fact, a double-digit win. I know you're the first one to say, and who knows who's going to win the series, but you can tell when the cars start to run low on gas. Most people pull over, get gas, and that Escalade, you just call AAA, Big C, but most people get gas. Does it look like
they bring you 2 free gallons of gas?
Okay.
Gotta understand.
Okay.
Nowadays, that's about $7.
Okay. But did Houston look like they're starting to run a little bit low on that jet fuel, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you could see that they weren't playing at that peak level that we've seen all season long. When you look at James Harden, this guy missed the rim on 3 three-point shots.
Yep.
Shot air balls.
Yeah.
And so you have to wonder, are the legs getting a little peaked at that time? So,
Yep.
You know, and we saw that last year with Harden in the playoffs.
Yes.
That it seemed that he kind of ran out of steam. And you know, there was a lot of pressure put on Minnesota in this game to perform well at home.
Yeah.
And their guards played out of their mind. When you think about 2 Chicago Bulls in Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose,
Yes.
you know, it brought you back to the, 10 years ago in both of their careers, you know, really about 8 years ago.
Yes.
That these guys were explosive players, Charlton, and they played that way. You know, Wiggins performed, Karl Anthony Towns showed up and scored more points than he had scored in the first 2 games.
Yes.
So this was a complete team effort. I think, you know, when Thibodeau had an opportunity to break down what his team had not been doing and was able to address it with them when they got home and got comfortable, instead of being on the road in a hotel and you don't have total control.
Yes.
They came back home to Minnesota that had been waiting for a playoff game, I think, since 2011. And the electricity in the Target Center, Charlton,
It was amazing.
like a college atmosphere.
Yeah. I tell you what, tonight, this is it's such a pivotal game. I know Houston's favored by 5.5. They're at Minnesota. The over/under is 219. But there's something about going home when you told that story about those lions up on the hill, or were they lions or bulls? I know there was something big up on the hill.
A couple of young bulls, you know.
couple of young bulls on the hill. And the young bulls say, let's run down there and have some fun on BigCDate.com, right? So the old bull says, we got BigCDate.com. We don't have to hurry. There's a lot of people that we can go after. Let's walk down there and enjoy all of them on the BigCDate.com show. And it looks like the Minnesota Timberwolves, they found BigCDate.com, and they started to take their time and play their game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they did, Charlton, and that's what you have to do. I mean, the playoffs is a whole new season.
Yes.
You know, that's what you look for in the NBA. I mean, you play 82 games to try to play 28 games.
Yeah.
That's what you try to do. But when you look overall, Charlton, at the Timberwolves, this is a youthful team.
Yes.
That should not be tired this time of the year.
No.
You know, Houston has some experience. You know, they lost Chris Paul to fouling out of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lot of the pressure that was put on him that, you know, he was out of his element.
Yep.
Because he's not used to playing out of the first round.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a fire
alarm
for them.
James Harden has been further than that. But,
yeah.
You know, this Houston team, this is new to territory. They have Nene, who had been hurt last year, which cost them, I think, you know, when it came down to playing in the NBA playoffs. But he's healthy. But I also think, Charlton, because they played at such a breakneck pace throughout the regular season, that it might be catching up a little bit with them right now.
Well, it looks like they put the fire out on Houston's flame. We'll see what happens tonight if they can pick it up again. And another game that we got to look at, Utah, a 5.5-point favorite over Oklahoma City. I wish Utah would change those colors, man. Those jerseys don't look I know the Wasatch Mountain have a lot of red clay in them, but I like when Utah had the purple, when they had Karl Malone and they had Stockton and Hornacek, they had that purple look to it. This team looks like a college atmosphere the way they're playing, but when I look at Donovan Mitchell, the way he's outperforming even Westbrook, Utah had to struggle to get into the playoffs, and so did OKC. But there's something about Utah not being afraid to take on the challenge, and I think OKC, with all their future Hall of Famers, might be in a little bit of trouble when you look at Utah and their win that they had over Oklahoma City. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Rudy Gobert, Charlton, makes a big difference in the middle for Utah. You know, he's somebody who can challenge Steven Adams, so he's not the only big man on the floor.
Yeah.
Gobert is a lot more mobile. He can get up, block shots, and run out on the wings in the fast break.
Yeah.
But the true shocker for Utah in this game was Ricky Rubio, who was a cast-off from Minnesota who came over this season, you know, new home in Utah.
Yeah.
Had a triple-double against Westbrook. Now, this is the first triple-double for a Utah player since John Stockton in the playoffs. So you know there's been a little drought of a decade at least. since they've had one.
Yeah.
But Ricky Rubio was playing with house money in this game, and that made the difference. You know, you think about Russell Westbrook. Didn't take a fourth-quarter shot in this game. And he only took one fourth-quarter shot in the previous game, Charlton. So you got to wonder what's wrong with the West. Is he sitting here trying to let his players, his teammates, get involved in the game? Because if you go back to that first game when Paul George scored in the 30s, Charlton, and was just lights out playing offensively and defensively, did Russell take a back seat and say, well, can they repeat that performance? And I saved myself for the next series. Well, Russell's going to have to turn it on tonight.
Yeah.
I know he's a little peeved because of what Rubio did with the triple-double, and the media is asking questions about it. But Rubio's a seasoned veteran.
Yes.
You know, he's one of those European players that came over here as a rookie, a 19-year-old Charlton, and has played in obscurity because he was in Minnesota.
Well,
now he's in the playoffs, and the true Ricky Rubio is showing up.
Yeah, and Westbrook is a lion. When lions got to eat, he just has to go hunting. When he hunts, and don't try to be so nice. You don't have to get your teammates involved. If they want the ball, let them hustle like you do. I look at another lion in the NBA, and this guy, you know, lions are the king of the jungle. Just like we say Big C Sports is king of the universe. The Lions are the king of the jungle. I never would have thought that Portland would get swept. Not with Lillard and McCollum, but I look at what I see in Davis. And I know there are people that saying, what if they just had DeMarcus Cousins? I think one thing, they don't need DeMarcus Cousins. They need to build a fortress around that big lion they have down there in the Lions pit in New Orleans. Feed them some more beads or some rabbit or whatever they feed those lions, Big Z. But it's his leadership that's helped New Orleans make people think that they could actually reach the Western Conference Finals. And I don't say that lightly, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, is that etouffee that's eating down there, that gumbo, little gator here and there, and a lot of them crawdads.
Yeah.
You know, and oysters on the half shell, big down in New Orleans. Okay, I love it every time I'm down there. They know I'm showing up.
They know you showing up.
Bring out the oysters on the half shell.
They know you're showing up.
Have some fun.
They know you're showing up, and they know when you left because there's a shortage of beads in New Orleans, Big Z.
Well, every now and then I drip a little of juice on my shirt, Charlton. I got to take it off, you know. So I was wondering why they were tossing me the beads. You know, I was just trying to get the sticky shirt off.
Hey, Big C, remember when Sam Jackson said, "I'm tired of all these blank on this blank plane." When Big C leaves the airport, they say, "I'm tired of all these beads on this blank plane." Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at what New Orleans has done to Portland,
yep.
and I don't really understand why it catches a lot of people by surprise, Charlton. Portland has made the playoffs 5 straight years, okay?
Yeah.
That's what they've done. You think about the last 3 seasons in the playoffs, Charlton, and, you know, when you want to be successful, the last 3 seasons that Portland has been in the playoffs, they played a total of 13 games.
Yeah.
Okay? That meant they were swept twice in one series. It was 4-1. So the expectations of Portland was set too high by the media, not by the organization, because they're accustomed to being 4 and done.
Yeah.
This is not uncommon to them. So when everybody's sitting out there saying, you know, we were shocked that New Orleans swept Portland, no, this is status quo for them. They want to play 4 games and go on holidays.
Yep.
and so that's what they did. Who knows? They may end up back down in New Orleans. I know it's a little early for Mardi Gras, but that's where they go. And you talk about Boogie Cousins, Charlton, being in New Orleans. I mean, Portland might be a good fit for him.
Yep.
When you think about the bodies that New Orleans has, their problem is size.
Yeah.
They don't have enough size to compete, and you can see that just with Anthony Davis. They couldn't compete with this guy, and he's only 6'10", so they need to put a little more size, and we know that Cousins is a free agent.
Yeah.
So Portland might not be a bad fit for him. We see the teams right now in the playoffs, Charlton.
Yeah.
Have size and have length.
It does
the
matter.
Ones that are advancing.
Yeah.
New Orleans has the size and the length. That made them advance.
Yeah.
When you look at everybody else playing, people don't think Golden State has size and length. Yes, they do, Charlton. When you put McGee in at 7'1", Durant is 6'11", 7 feet tall.
I like them.
You know, Draymond, you know, who is their leading assist player, is 6'7". So he's seeing the court. And so that's what happens when you look at Utah. I mean, with Gobert at 7-1 in the middle.
Yes.
You know, even in OKC, Adams is at 7-2. So you have players that can make a difference, Charlton. You got to have some size. Portland doesn't have it. And once again, they're going home after 4 games.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. They do have. I would love to see Lillard end up in a bigger market. I just think he's a phenomenal basketball player. But I think he
his
gets showed up.
contract, Charlton,
Yeah.
when you look at the contract of their backcourt,
Yeah.
it prohibits them moving anybody. You know, you're talking about 2 guards that are owed $88 million each. Well, between the two of them, just $157 million over the next 3 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got these guys that are tied up in contracts that you can't move into other organizations, so you're stuck with them.
Yeah, they are stuck with him. Big C, San Antonio, again, thoughts and prayers to Pop's family. But I thought Ginobili and the way they play with Aldridge, and they stopped Golden State from sweeping them. I don't think they're going to have a problem winning the game Tuesday over at Golden State, but a 103-90 win, San Antonio. There was a time when Golden State closed. They closed the gap. But that game was just meant for San Antonio with the emotion down there and the feeling and the attitude. Good news is that Curry will most likely be ready for the second series, but they still got to play hard and close out, San Antonio when they come to Oakland. Your thoughts on San Antonio getting a big win, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, is good for San Antonio in the NBA, but it's also good for the Warriors. Think about it. This is at least one more game of rest for Curry.
Yeah.
Okay? So you extend his rehabilitation period. And who knows, the NBA has always been accused of players just sitting down, trying to get some rest. This really aids the Warriors because San Antonio would have to play lights out to win the next 3 games.
Yeah.
Okay? So this really helps out Stephen Curry that he's going to have a chance to sit at least another 4 to 5 days, Charlton, before they have to play another series.
Yeah.
And so that's even more healing time for him.
That's a good point, Big C. My song backed by popular demand, "Oh, Canada." Man, they got hoodwinked. I told them, good boys, when you're down there around the Potomac River and you're down in the Trump territory, those referees not going to let you get out without being what they call hoodwinked. Big C, your thoughts?
That's something you got to think about. You got guys that don't always understand border,
Border patrol.
and I think they might, they've been sitting up talking about and hearing about this wall. Now they were playing in Washington D.C., aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah, and so they've heard a lot of talk about building a border wall, and I guess Toronto had to leave some things behind coming into the country.
I'm sure.
To be able to get into Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I was, surprised the way that Wall played. I was expecting that from Beal.
Yes.
He played as he normally does, but John Wall has played exceptionally well since being back in D.C., the nation's capital. And lifted their team to even up the series at 2-2.
Yeah.
And, I thought that Toronto and Casey would move up 3-1 in this series, starting getting down there.
So did I.
But, right now, Toronto's struggling.
Yep.
They're going to have to be concerned. And Toronto has a similar situation that we saw in Portland, where you don't have the length in the backcourt. When you look at the guards, they're smaller guards, which has had problems throughout their playoff history, Charlton.
Yep.
And when you're looking at Washington, they have bigger guards. They have more size on the court, and they played physical basketball, Charlton.
Yeah, they sure did.
And that's what Toronto didn't play in the first 2 games. They just went up and down the court.
Well, that series.
Washington got physical.
Yep.
They've changed the direction of this series.
They sure have. 106-98 over Toronto. I think it all started when the Canadians started saying that Drake should sing the national anthem instead of Big C Sports. Now what you guys think about who should sing the national anthem, Drake or Big C Sports? Big C, that series tied at 2. I look at Milwaukee, Boston, 104-102. What a great game. Great series going down to the wire. Giannis really playing like the Lion King that we thought he would be. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Bucks were playing out of desperation, Charlton. Boston, just like Toronto, got off to that quick lightning start. And the Bucks, that young team is, still trying to find themselves, just pushing the limit. And, Brad Stevens, I think he'll find ways to pull this series out for Boston because, I think that it should be Boston versus Toronto at some point. But, the Bucks are not going away lightly.
Yeah, they're really in there to hang on to the see. I want to look at two more games in NBA playoffs. Philadelphia, trust the process, 3-0 lead over Miami. And, we talk about who's going to be the Lion. They got a lot of Lions in that team. The Lions have to eat. You ever watch the Wild Kingdom back in the day? And the Lions were always king of the jungle. When I watch these teams that know they got a Lion on their team, and I look at Embiid, and I look at Simmons, and I look at just the talent of their big front court, Big C, they can go down and dominate. And I know Dwayne Wade tried to pull out some miracle play down the stretch, but a young team can outperform an older team for the most part any day of the week, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a team that's been put together methodically when you look at Philadelphia. These players have taken the time, and they have a coach that really understands them, and he knows how to work the integral parts.
Yes.
And like I said, the best part about Philadelphia's team is that 4 of their 5 starters are not from the U.S., is that they've learned how to play the game without the basketball in their hand. On the flip side, when you look at Miami, these players grew up controlling the ball, except for Ulyk, the center that's out of Toronto.
Yeah.
These guys have grown up with the ball in their hand, having control of the game. And so if they don't have the ball all the time, there's a lot of guys watching the guy with the ball.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that in Cleveland. But, with Philadelphia right now being up 3-1 in this series, Charlton, they should close this series out and be ready for the second round after this next game.
Well, I'll tell you what, they look very dominant, Big C, and I know there are people saying about the process, should you trust it, should you not trust the process? They definitely show that you got to process, you got to trust it. Last NBA game, and we'll get your thoughts on a few things, I didn't want to see LeBron James, King James, the biggest lion out there in the NBA universe, and as a lion, king of the jungle. When he flexes his muscle, he's dominant. But also, he got to take some criticism. And I heard Charles Barkley talk about it. You can't have poor body posture. Just because you're the baddest guy in the universe, when your teammates make a mistake, you can't flip around and look like you're all upset, not get back on defense. You got to say that I'm the lion. The buck stops with me. And I thought he played that way in the final game yesterday, Big C. And he has to have that effort all the time. But he also has to know, no matter how much money you have in the bank, no matter how much success you have, your body posture tells people if you're happy or not. And if you're walking around with your head down between your tail, then people think, if my king is giving up, then who am I to try? And I think having his head up and being a leader in action, not just words, really helped Cleveland tie that series up at 2 apiece. 32 points for King James. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think you touched on that a little bit when you talked about Michael Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, yeah.
Is that you're expecting a certain level of performance from your teammates.
Yeah.
And because you're all being paid. And put it this way, in the playoffs, everybody's checks are equal.
Yeah.
There's no difference. So you're expecting those teammates that have gotten to this point of the season to play at that level, Charlton.
Yes.
And, when you practice and it looks easy in practice, then you get in the game and you have a tendency to forget what you're there for. That's what frustrates superstars.
Yes.
I remember when I was playing, and it wasn't basketball. I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the ball would move around sometimes. I guess they call that a fumble.
Yeah.
But we had a defensive back.
Yes.
I mean, he couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I mean, his nickname was Pillow.
Yep.
Because he wouldn't hit anybody.
Yeah.
And we rolled him about it all the time. Now, in practice, he looked like an all-pro.
Yes.
But in the game, he looked like, I don't know.
Yep.
And so we lost several games because of that. But, that's what you see with a superstar. You expect for that guy, even if he's the 12th guy on the bench, to know what to do, and when he gets into the game, Charlton give an optimum performance.
Yeah.
You saw that from several Cleveland Cavaliers in this last game, when you saw guys coming out knocking down shots that had not been doing that. And so James played at their level.
Yes.
And that's what you want, is that need to be able to play at the same level that you are. I know what I can do as a leader of this team. But now that you guys are playing, I'm more comfortable and I'm not feeling pressured.
I agree. And as long as he plays that way and realizes he is king of the universe, I think Cleveland has a chance to get out of that series. But Indiana's playing some basketball. In the NHL, Boston's a favorite over Toronto tonight, and Washington's a favorite over Columbus. And the standing for the NHL playoffs, Nashville's up 4-2. They won that series. Winnipeg 4-1. Vegas 4-0. San Jose 4-0, and their series over Anaheim in the Eastern Conference. Tampa 4-1 over New Jersey. Boston, and they're 3-2 right now with Toronto. They're playing tonight. Washington and Columbus, that series 3-2 Washington. And then Pittsburgh won their series versus Philadelphia 4-2. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charleston, I don't know if I'm looking forward to in the sports universe, but I'm looking at something in the political realm. There's this individual on this station that was named in this warrant last week in New York.
Yo, Hannity?
You know, that Michael Cohen was, he was one of Michael Cohen's clients. And he said he spoke with Michael Cohen about some real estate dealings. Okay? Here's a guy who's a broadcaster on the network now is purchasing $100 million in real estate.
Wow.
$100 million. And you think about this. He got some help from HUD. Think about it. You're a wealthy individual, and you got HUD financing your real estate purchases. Now, isn't HUD for low-income people?
Housing and urban development, yep.
Okay. The Secretary of HUD, Ben Carson, a Trump appointee. And now this guy is one of the clients of Trump. I guess this is the reason why they didn't want to be disclosed. That you got HUD loaning an individual $100 million to get real estate. I'm impressed.
That's incredible. But you're only going to hear it on the Big C Sports Show every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.